to Talking Cars. I'm Jennifer Stockberger.
I'm Ryan Pizlikowski.
I'm Gordon Gingras.
And as you can see, we are here with our tire experts because in this episode, we're going to talk tires. It is by no accident the timing of new tire ratings and talking tires. As for many of us, there's a little bit of a nip in the air. We've had some cold mornings. And even if you don't live in an area where the seasons change a lot, you may need new tires. So let's jump right in with how do you know when you need new tires? And we'll go to you, Ryan, first. How do you know?
Well, hopefully before you slide off the road in a snowstorm.
Exactly.
No, hopefully that doesn't happen. But no, for real, you should be checking your tires monthly for tread depth, just the condition of the tires, the age. You want to make sure you have at least 430 seconds. That's when you really should start checking, stop shopping, what we say. So 430 seconds is about the distance between George Washington's head and the top of a quarter.
Right.
So you can just to give you an idea, you can dip the quarter in upside down and kind of see where and looking across the tread, see where how much room you have or don't have between his head and the edge of the quarter. You should be shopping. If you have less than that, you need to get tires sooner than later. Snow traction, wet grip is severely hindered at that point. So
there's an interesting, we host that street survival teen driving school, and the kids are in their own cars. These are young drivers in their own cars. And we just hosted it a few weeks ago. And 3 of the cars had to be kind of disqualified from doing the course.
No.
Because of the condition of their tires. 2 had big bulges or bubbles in the sidewall, which getting back to that checking monthly, make sure you don't have that. And 1 was just completely bald. We can't really let you do the course with this.
Right.
So thankfully they had alternative cars they could.
Yeah, I mean, and getting back to inspecting them, I mentioned the age. Every tire has a DOT code on it on both sides of the tire, but on one side will have a date that the tire was actually made. It's 4 digits. So for example, it might say 0425, which means it was made in the 4th week of 2025. Right. If your tires are older than 10 years old, you should absolutely have them replaced. But you should check your owner's manual in your car because they might say less than that. Manufacturers will specify sometimes 6 to 8 years. And old tires are no good. They might look fine, but they're dry rot. They get their dry rot. The interior can start to deteriorate and can compromise your safety.
Yeah, and I think the aging. As many of us now can or are working remotely and you're not accumulating as many miles, the aging thing might be a bigger factor. I also say, Gordon, that, Ryan, you alluded to it. You're sliding off the road. There are, outside of physically inspecting your tire for tread wear, I think there's day-to-day stuff that you can notice in your driving that are a telltale sign of when you need new tires as well.
Yeah, certainly your wet grip's going to go down as the tire depth gets lower. Mm-hmm. So part of doing that inspection, you want to make sure you have that full grip. It's going to give you the best what we call all-weather, winter, wet weather traction. Other than that, the rubber is going to tend to get harder as it ages. So that tends to lean towards longer stopping distance.
Yep.
But that kind of stuff's hard to tell until you're in a situation where you really need it. So
it's too late.
Exactly.
You're sliding off the road. Yeah. I think too, and I say it here about cars too, that wet morning, and you are right where I was headed, you typically see it in the wet, which regardless of whether you're in the snow belt or not, you get rain. That morning when you give it a little gas and all of a sudden you have to wheel spin. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or you're at the end of John Doe's driveway that lives down the road for you and where a puddle accumulates. Oh, you hydroplaned that morning when you don't remember ever hydroplaning that before. Really be attentive to that stuff.
I think the first place most people recognize their tires are starting to go is either hydroplaning, unfortunately, on the highway or at decent speeds, and just wet grip because those are reliant on tread depth.
Yeah.
So and tire age.
So you touched on it, Gordon, this all-weather tire versus winter tire, and we'll talk about that. Explain the difference between the all-weather and the winter.
Yeah, so an all-weather tire is technically an all-season tire that qualifies for a winter weather grip criteria. So you can use it all year long, just like a regular all-season tire. It is we test them as an all-season tire.
Yep.
But it's not going to have the what we would call extreme winter grip as a dedicated snow tire does. Dedicated snow tires, they're softer. They're only meant to be run during the winter seasons, taken off in the spring. Mm-hmm. But, there's some hassle with changing the tire out. You have to store them somewhere. So the all-weather can be a good middle ground for some people.
They get rid of the hassle, the inconvenience of the swap.
Yeah, definitely.
Common question to both of you. Who needs a winter tire?
It's kind of funny. Over time, over the past, my time here, 20 years, I've been helping friends with tires, and I had a lot of friends that would, their wives would be nurses or whatever, or they would go skiing a lot, and I was like, just get winter tires, right?
Yeah.
And even myself, I had when I had my own car, I had a BMW. I had all summer tires and all winter tires.
Yeah. It's a
And I would
very
swap back and forth.
European way
Yeah,
of
so European
thinking.
thing, sort of,
Yeah.
right? So in the U.S., we like this one tire that does it all. So the all-season tire that was created, and then we've just modified it over the years. Now this is like the next modification of it, because the rubber compounds have gotten so advanced and the tread designs. So now that these are all season tires that wear the Three Peaks mountain snowflake symbol that's on a dedicated winter tire, like you said, but it also has UTQG ratings, which are the traction temperature and tread wear rating from the government, which allows you to drive on those tires year round.
Right.
So winter tires are not intended to be driven on year round. Will melt right off.
And you talked about, Gordon, the winter's better in the all weather, better than the typical all season.
Right.
But do you see the counter in your rate? Like, is the dry and wet not as good as a typical all season, or they're comparable?
They're. I mean, if you look at the ratings, you'll see all weather tires sprinkled anywhere from the first place to the last
Depends
place.
on the tire.
And it depends on their approach on how they go about it, right?
To answer your question, though, a regular or a winter tire on dry roads is not going to perform as well as a regular all season.
The winter tire, yes. Sorry, I was comparing the all weather with
Yeah,
all
no,
weather.
I'm asking both. I'm asking both. But so people are aware for sure.
You can see why it's confusing. All the different names
Well, they kind of mean the same thing, right?
Yeah.
They seem like that. So, yeah.
So short, if you don't have to be out in it, all season's probably fine. If you want some additional winter grip, but not the hassle of the changeover, all weather.
Yeah, right.
If you're out in it, like you said, a nurse, a teacher, well, maybe not teachers, but a nurse, a first responder, you have to go to work regardless.
It's been evolving.
Winter
though.
tire.
Going back to what I was saying before, it's been evolving though, because now I have friends that like we can work from home a little more easily, right? We have those remote abilities. Around here, at least in Connecticut, recently in the last several years, I mean, the roads are cleared off. We don't have snow like we used to, so the roads are cleared off. And when a cleared off road, you're really better off driving on an all season or all weather tire than you are on a winter tire. Yep. So you have to weigh that out. But if you are going to Vermont to go skiing and you have to climb up a mountain to get just to the base of the mountain, you're going to want a dedicated winter tire for sure.
I even think of the ski area. We go enough, the parking lots, they're slushy, rutted messes often because they've gotten snow.
And it's not just to get going. It's to stop and turn, right?
Give your speech.
I'm pointing at you. No, it's people think right away like I'm stuck. I want to get out from being stuck. That's fine, but it's also stopping and turning.
Yeah,
because you still have the same four tires. All-wheel drive doesn't help you stop or turn really. It's tires.
Yeah, and winter tires, as long as being snow tires, they're also great at stopping on ice. So that's what's really going to help you when you're going down a hill into an intersection and you're going, am I going to stop on this? It's icy intersection.
And with certainly, areas that didn't used to get ice now get ice. So, the polar vortex or whatever they call it dips way down into what we would consider southern states, and all of a sudden they're in an ice storm. So it's not, this time of year, we think of it as winter approaching, but it's really just kind of adverse weather for everybody. That
and you can't know what the future is, right? So, but the all weathers, it's a nice compromise because they cover you pretty well.
And to your point, do it before you are sliding. Do it now.
Yeah, you should be check them right now.
Yeah, Gordon, very common too. I own an EV. We've heard so many personal experiences of, they're wearing out quickly. Do EV owners need a specific tire for their EV?
Yeah, so Ryan and I just finished up some testing this year on this, and kind of what we found was that as long as the tire satisfies the load and speed range that the EV vehicle requires, then a regular all-season product or a UHP tire, whatever the EV owner is trying to get out of the tire, they can use a regular replacement tire. They don't have to get a EV-specific tire. We found that we tested some EV tires and we mixed in regular tires with them, and we found they ran the normal range of our testing just like any other batch of tires.
Right.
And what about range?
Yeah, range, same thing. There was some regular all-season tires that did well in range testing, and they weren't marketed as being just for an EV. They're a tire that I would put on a regular sedan, but it works on the EV as well.
The OE tire was the most efficient tire, though, which we kind of suspected. I mean, it had less tread depth from the factory, brand new, which is a way that you can reduce mass in the tire and keep it low rolling resistance. And the car, they're selling the car with a certain amount of range. They got to give it, they want to give it the most they can, so they're going to put a low rolling resistance tire on it. That tire, however, suffered a little bit in winter traction, right?
Yeah.
It didn't have as much tread depth, and the compounding was probably a little different to get that smooth rolling resistance and whatnot. So, but in general, like he said, I mean, it was kind of like you could put anything on there really, as long as you satisfy the load and your speed rating, you'll be fine. So
one thing too, the wear testing, for so many reasons, mainly the chargeability and keeping the cars charged long enough to do the wear testing, was not done on an EV.
Right.
Because you couldn't get
It's almost
6
impossible,
Model
yeah.
3s and keep them going for 1,000 miles a day like the wear test is. But it's not the tire designs that are wearing quickly. It's that tire on an EV, which I'm going back to what I started with. So
exactly,
many
it's not the
people's-
tire's fault.
It's
in
not
other
the
words.
tire's fault.
Right. Yeah. And unfortunately, we couldn't do it to test it that way. So we did miss out on some aspects, like a little bit extra load, and then the torque, that stuff. But we still did it to give like a good comparison of just wear rates, basically. Yeah. It was an interesting test.
I think it's so valuable to know that, like any other car owner, if you own an EV, you can shop around. You don't have to go right back to that original equipment.
I will add
if you don't want.
I will add the EV tires that are they're marketed as EV tires. They are doing things to make them more quiet. They put foam inside of them. They are doing things, but our testing just didn't show that overwhelming, change against a regular all-season tire, which I think is the fact that we've pushed tires to the limit already of how efficient can we make them, how much grip can we get out of them, how long can we make them wear.
It's like anything. If you love that cocoon quiet of your EV, you might want to get an EV one with foam in it.
Right.
So it's not coming through.
And our testing still didn't show much of a difference. So it was.
Yeah.
And some EV owners might be willing to sacrifice a little bit of range to gain a little performance, maybe stopping distance, winter traction, whatever they prioritize.
Yeah. And then a lot of them are all-wheel drive, but that doesn't work if you don't have any grip.
Yep.
So very interesting. So common question. All right, you're shopping for someone you love, care about. What is your best tire shopping advice?
Yeah, I would just get out up front and what we've been talking about here, get out ahead of it.
Mm-hmm.
If you can shop for a tire before you need one, it's going to give you the best chance to get a good deal. You can check our ratings, see what kind of tire you get or want to get. If you don't do that, you're going to walk into a tire shop and you're probably going to get whatever they have in stock, especially if you walk in there and your tires are bald, you have no traction left.
Yeah.
You're stuck with whatever they have.
I did a study a long time ago now about buying tires.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you go into our local town fair tire and you say, I need tires like today, here's good, better, and best.
Yeah.
And they might not be, the best might be something that's okay, but it's you're kind of shoehorned into that. That's your only choice. So I did this thing where I would call the places ahead and order tires that we had highly rated. A week later, they made an appointment. I brought the car there, put the tires on. Brilliant. It was great. I recommend, like he said, get ahead of it. Know what you want ahead of time before the snow starts flying and you are stranded. So definitely, that's the best thing I could tell people. Short of just calling me and I'll give you a recommendation.
Call Ryan. Here's this. No. We've had good luck too. I have with the online, Tire Rack or whoever.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I think Amazon's good sometimes where you order now and it's there in a couple hours, how did that even happen?
Yeah.
It's very similar. You can order tires this afternoon and you'll have them in your, if you have
definitely.
a great installer or they can give you a recommended installer, I think the online works too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's usually deals, rebates.
Yep.
Pay attention. And that's the thing. If you shop longer, you can find those rebates.
Yeah. Nice thing about some of the brick and mortar stores is some of them say you're putting winter tires on. They'll store your all seasons for the off season and do free tire changeover, et cetera. There's other services that can be layered on.
And don't be surprised about getting charged for disposal of the tires, your old tires. Getting rid of tires is expensive, unfortunately. Mountain balance, all that kind of stuff. But a lot of those places will throw stuff in, and they will be competitive. If you bring up a price from online, a lot of times they'll match that price.
Yeah, say, hey, I can get it at Tire Rack for XYZ dollars. Yeah. And Ryan, I want you to add to the price thing. Clearly we have expensive tires, but there's a value that you talk about often
Yeah. So sometimes our
Cost per mile or something.
Yeah, we have a very highly rated tire that might be expensive, but it wore well. It wore much longer than everything else. Even though it seems way more expensive, it's actually cost per mile is actually lower than some cheaper tire that wears out quicker.
Right.
Now, with that though, you also, while you have that tire for that long duration, you have a high performing tire, a great tire that did well in our test. So it's kind of a double whammy, right?
Yep.
So that's something to keep in mind. For sure.
I've always given advice to one, the seasonality matters. Like I've said to people, they're like, am I good? I'm like, you're good through the summer, but you definitely want to change over come this time of year before winter comes or rain, heavy rains. But the other thing I've said to people is really think about when you're talking about a 100,000 mile tire or even an 80,000 mile tire, you going to keep the car that long?
Yeah.
So I often go, you don't necessarily need to buy 100,000 mile tire if your lease ends in a year or you're planning to unload that car in a year. You can probably come down to a less expensive, high performing, always high performing, but less expensive. Don't need the wear for quite as long.
Right.
So you got to do that kind of balancing act with the car you got.
There's a lot of used cars that you see that come with tires that we've never even heard of. And that's just because they're putting the cheapest tire on there. And it's something to think about if you're only going to hang on to a car for 10,000 miles.
And the tire we've never heard of. So that may not be a great performer either. So, so they can say new tires in their used car.
Yeah, I will say any new tire is better than an old worn out tire though.
Right.
No matter what it is. I'll always say that, but it is nice to pay attention to that.
Yeah, at least you have depth.
To
bite and resist hydroplaning and ever. So I just want to do, because we don't talk tires specifically all of the time, you guys spend all of your time behind the wheel and doing the testing. And first of all, Gordon, you're new to this panel. I want you to introduce yourself. He works year round doing tire testing. So let us know a little bit about you. New to the Talking Cars table.
Well, thanks for having me. I work with Ryan every day, so just day-to-day tire testing. A lot of time on the track. We do some traveling to get some winter testing. Get to drive on the ice rink once a year. So a lot of our job as tire testers too is just understanding what's happening in the market too. So things like this all-weather topic, what's coming, EV tires, are they different? So it's fun in the way that we get to answer some of these questions, a little bit of like hypothesis testing and just see what is going on and if it's worth kind of chasing some of these trends.
You are, unlike other products in CR where they might have a market analyst who's talking to the manufacturers, you are your own market analyst.
We're it, the two of us.
You're talking to tire manufacturers. To your point, Gordon, what's coming, what's new, what are the trends, what's the market doing? You guys are the pulse of that, certainly for here.
Yeah, we've always kept a pretty good relationship or a close relationship with all the tire manufacturers to understand their market, their marketing and their product planning and all that kind of stuff. And how we should be testing and things to look at. We've always been pretty open with what we do, and we're always looking for any information they can give us. So, but that goes into the market research stuff where it's like, we want to make sure we're testing the most current stuff that's not going away, the most appropriate for the categories that we're testing. It's important to have that dialogue with them.
And just quick, overall score, some of the tests are similar to vehicle tests, wet and dry brake handling. What's different? What do you do differently that adds into the tire's overall score?
Well, I'll give you a rundown. It takes us a year. It takes us a year to do this testing, right? So we start with least destructive testing first, and then we get to more destructive. It happens to be the winter when we start. So snow traction goes first. It doesn't ruin the tires. So we do a snow traction test, which is measured distance from 5 to 20 miles per hour. We then do ice braking. We stop on an ice skating rink from 10 miles per hour to 0 with anti-lock brakes defeated. So it's just a locked wheel test. Anti-lock brakes don't work well at low speeds. So and this still gives us a good read on the grip the tire has on ice. We do a ride evaluation here. We're looking at steering feel, ride comfort, and noise. Subjectively, we'll both be in the car together. We do a lap each.
This is all stuff you would think is hard to pick out, but when you drive on 30, 40 sets of tires,
back to back
on the same vehicle, you can pick out these little things. And people I've had people come to me and say, "Oh, I got this new set of tires, and they're so much quieter than
Yes.
my new
Yeah,
tires."
well, probably because the tires that came off were all feathered and shot.
Right.
Yeah. It's always like, yeah, well, no wonder there's metal hanging out of the tire. Yeah.
A lot of times, Ryan and I are looking for things that hit you in the face.
Right.
A lot of tires are pretty good; they're in the middle here somewhere, but there's a couple bad ones and a couple of good ones, and we're kind of
The standouts.
the standouts.
Yeah.
Either way.
In the time I've been doing this, I got to say though, tires have gotten really good. They're
Yeah.
competitive. They're a lot closer. We used to have ones that would really like just obnoxiously loud or like super stiff, and now it's like you're just gonna start really thinking about pulling it apart and how much do you pull it apart for the average consumer, right? I mean, we do this for a living, so we're a little more calibrated, if you will. But so ride and noise evaluation, and then spring rolls around, and we're doing hydroplaning resistance, where we're traveling through basically a big puddle that's 10 millimeters deep, and we're trying to follow this curve with a steady throttle and steady steering input. And as you go faster and faster, eventually you're going to hydroplane. Every tire hydroplanes at some point. So the faster the speed, the better the tire has, the better hydroplane resistance it has, right? So Gordon's been doing that test now the past few years. And we used to use instrumentation. Now it's subjective because when it's happening.
Well, yeah, you just go tangent.
Yeah, it's just
okay,
like
I'm
on or
off.
off. Some tires
Going
creep
straight
up
now.
on you. Yeah, but others, like, you just know, right? I mean, it's just boom. So after that's dry and wet braking from 60 miles per hour to 0.
So like
We're
vehicle
testing
testing,
that with satellite V-boxes, the measured distance, and then we do dry and wet handling. So in the past, we've been doing avoidance maneuver, which was familiar with everyone. And then we do a wet handling course on our VDA. So it's basically a wet autocross.
Gordon, 2 contracted tests to add in to that overall score are
Yeah, so while all of our testing's going on, we send out the tires to a rolling resistance lab, and this is just a predictor of your gas mileage, your EV range. They're running it on a machine, and it's just how much energy does it take to roll that tire down the road.
Yep.
And then we have our tread wear test. So this is it's a complicated test, a lot of moving parts. We send out 2 samples to an outside lab in Texas. They're run to 16,000 miles for truck and car tires.
Yeah.
The ultra high performance tires are run to 8,000 miles. And then from that 16,000 miles, we're predicting how long the tires will last until they're completely worn out.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Yeah.
It's expensive, but no one does it. We're unique for that. No one does it to the extent we do it, in other words.
right.
Yeah.
Like vehicle testing, safety related stuff gets more weight in the overall score. And then finally, there's a survey element, a small weight of survey.
Yeah, so we have a
element.
little bit of this is fairly new the past few years. Brand satisfaction, which is most other products that we test have this rating. So it's basically a brand survey that's sent out to our subscribers or our members. They're rating their experience with they had with this brand on a category level. So a Michelin all season tire will get the same rating. So that's truck all season, UHP all season, regular all season. They'll all get the same rating, but their winter tire might have a different rating, their summer tire might have a different rating, their all-terrain tire might have a different rating. And that gets compiled into our overall score now. You
From
can see
people who bought that brand. Did you like them? Would you do it again? Type of
And the
satisfaction.
idea is,
like cars. Again, like cars.
right. The idea is, I mean, we test a brand new tire, but this gives some insight to how these tires were over the course of their life while this person had that tire. So yeah, so it's a little added data to our test.
Right, because we don't do long-term testing.
Right.
Ours is all brand new. Like, how did are they satisfied with this brand over time? It gives a little bit of that element. And right now, you guys you're transitioning. You got a ton of tires stacked up there. The newest ratings are for
the UHP all season, UHP summer, and then performance winter.
Okay, so performance tires, ultra high performance, UHP,
so sports cars,
kind
of high end trim levels. Maybe your sportier SUVs.
Yeah, they have WY speed rating, ZR rated. So the numbers seem absurd, but these tires are built for performance. They can handle weight and heat buildup. They're performance sporty
And what'd
tires.
you test on?
We did a Toyota GR86 and then a Subaru BRZ.
Fun.
Yeah, they're kind of like sister vehicles. We had them. I think we had them some years back in our regular program and vehicle testing program. So we were able to steal them and use them. So they're fun little cars. But I will say, as I get older, I can't sit in those cars long. They beat you up.
It's getting creaky.
So
Yeah,
kind
so-
of hanging in there with the last of the manual transmission. Little
Yeah, that's
sports
the only
cars.
fun part is the manuals, right?
And your shop. Oh, sorry.
No, I was going to add to the ratings wise though. We're also updated all the brand satisfaction scores so that all tires have new, slightly different overall scores because the brand satisfaction score changed because of the new survey data.
And you're shopping now for next year, which will be.
So we're testing truck tires again, body on frame truck tires.
Yep.
We're actually changing our size to for years we did a 17, a 265 70 17, which was a just common, still very common actually, truck size. The wheels that we have actually has been here as long as I have now, almost 20 years. So it's time to give them up. They're pretty beat up, but we're going to move to a 20-inch size. It's a 275 60 R20. Which is a very common size Silverado F-150. And we'll be doing all-season truck, all-terrain truck, and truck winter. So there's a couple truck winter tires, which is not that common for people, but if you're up north, way up there, they're using those. So we're going to start going to the gym because this wheel
You're
and
gonna
tire
be
package is
hefty.
way heavier than the
You
17s.
won't need the gym.
Well,
That will
to get
be
started,
your
otherwise I'm
workout.
going to injure myself. Yeah. So
The trend with truck tires has been getting bigger.
Right.
It went from 17s to 18s, and then now
the
20s seems to be the most popular size.
Yeah,
From
the
what we're
18 never
seeing.
really took off, it seemed like, and then it
They
jumped to
jumped
the
it.
20. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the all-terrain tires, a lot of people like that aggressive look. So there's a lot of that group grown a lot.
Whether you're doing off-road, I know a
not,
lot of
yeah.
people put all-terrain on in this area to plow with.
Yeah.
But even without that, people like the look. They like that rugged.
Yeah, it just gives it a rugged
tread
look. And some
pattern.
cars come, Jeeps and stuff will come with them on it already. So,
Yep.
so that's what's coming.
Okay. So certainly all of those ratings will be up, updated ratings, new ratings on the ultra high performance, and updated ratings on everything with the owner satisfaction in it. CR.org. Look for all the tire stuff. You guys have been busy. So we'll move on to some audience questions, maybe tire related. Before we start, I do want to give a shout out story for you. I'm in the St. Martin. We have friends who we visited. They have a beautiful home in St. Martin. I'm in the St. Martin airport. My husband happened to be in line getting some chicken nuggets. And I went to say something to him. And this guy says, "Hey, are you on a Talking Cars podcast from Consumer
that's
Report?"
incredible.
So thank you, Philip from Canada. Just a shout out to you for meeting in the St. Martin airport. And I have fans, you guys. You just don't know.
You're famous.
I'm famous. So audience questions, as always, cr.org/talking cars. We love them. Short emails, videos, texts, whatever works. The first one comes from Chris in Vienna, Virginia. I purchased a new set of Michelin Cross Climate 2 tires for my Subaru Ascent, in part due to the strong recommendation of Consumer Reports. Thank you, Chris. Overall, great tires with the exception of one annoying thing. The tread style of this tire, kind of a chevron shape, causes it to pick up many small rocks in between the tread. At any time, I think I'm carrying at least a dozen along in my tires. It seems as though the rocks in the tread would affect braking, cornering, etc. Does it meaningfully affect the tire performance?
So this is interesting. We have a dirt road back here on the way to the track, and when we're breaking in tires, we put different tires on the vehicles all the time, and we're going back and forth.
Yeah.
Some tires pick up rocks, some don't. However, once you're at speed, those rocks have come out.
Yeah, they pitch
When you
out.
slow back down, you're picking those rocks back up again, and you think that they were there the whole time, and I don't think they were.
Yeah.
they just the centrifugal force of the tire spinning will whip them out of there, and this tread squirms as you're driving and turning and whatnot, so it actually tosses them out. But yeah, in that wherever he is in that area, those types of rocks happen to fit in the Cross Climate 2 grooves, and he's getting stuck in there. So performance-wise, no, but it does bring up a funny point about our ice testing.
Yeah, you spend a lot of time, Gordon.
Yeah, so in preparation for ice testing, we don't have the luxury of driving down and throwing all the rocks
Tossing them
out
out,
at
yeah.
60 miles an hour. So I take a pick and pick every last stone out of the tires. And winter tires with a lot of siping sure do pick up a lot of rocks.
Yeah, because it will add traction to the ice. It'll grab more, a rock on the ice will slow it down quicker. It's almost like having studs in a winter tire, right?
So to Chris's point, it could if they didn't pitch out. And I will tell you, I'm going back to my Pirelli days.
Yeah.
There were absolutely, and I can't imagine they're not at every manufacturer, tests of what we called rock retention. How they'd roll these tires over, they weren't so worried about the ones that would kick out. And they actually pay attention to the tread designs to hope they kick out.
Yeah.
But there were versions of tread where they tested where the tires tended to actually go the other way. embed themselves
Yeah.
down in deeper in the
Right.
tread. And that was always an issue. But I'm sure they're doing those tests and watching for that deeper retention. I will say, sometimes when they do it, before you get up to speed, that tick, 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 you
Oh,
get
you'll
that.
hear
It
'em.
almost sounds like a studded snow tire almost.
And then you'll hear it
little bit of-
ping, hit off
yes.
the fender
Right.
well or whatever, because it will come out eventually at the higher speeds. I mean, the lower speeds, yeah, they might stay in there, and it could potentially affect your performance somewhat. But if you're stomping on the brakes, an emergency maneuver, just that alone, they're gonna roll right. They're gonna come out as that tread squirms, sort of, right? So
I think people are surprised that how much it does squirm the tread itself
Yeah.
when it's under load and,
Right.
and power. But anyway, great question, Chris. Matt says, which EV, excuse me, has the best all-wheel drive? I live in snowy Colorado with a Tesla Model Y. It's okay, but it doesn't do as well as other internal combustion engine vehicles I've owned from Subaru, Toyota, Honda. I know weight and tires are a big factor, but I'm curious if the all-wheel drive system has something to do with it too. I just upgraded the tires to the Michelin Cross Climates. Oh, there's a trend here. So we will see if that helps with winter. Can we say which EV has the best all-wheel drive?
It's hard to say. As far as accelerating on snow, there's so many variables. Whether it's slushy, packed snow. I would say that I'm biased here, but I would say that your tire is going to make a bigger difference than the all-wheel drive system as far as snow traction goes. But that being said, Ryan had kind of alluded to this earlier, that the all-wheel drive system is going to help you get up to speed, but it's not going to help you slow down on that snowy or icy road.
Right.
Right. Yeah, we haven't done testing on EVs and snow just to see what. I mean, we did some all-wheel drive testing back in the day about ICE vehicles, but and EVs, so we can't say which ones, right? And then Model 3, like I know Model Y, Model 3, any of the EVs, they have different ways of ramping up power because they can do it individually depending on how many motors and all. It's more complicated than like a Subaru all-wheel drive system, which is somewhat connected directly to all wheels, right? So the tires are the biggest important. They're the most important part, to your point, Gordon. So
Do you think, and I think, because there's so much torque initially with the EVs, of driving them a little differently, I just think sometimes that winter grip, you want to just creep up, we'll talk about it when you're doing snow acceleration. You got to tickle the throttle to just get the grip, and then you can increase in speed. I think people might be surprised because they're used to just hitting that accelerator pedal and getting that instant torque. You might need to tickle it a little more to keep winter grip, even with all-wheel drive.
Or try using some of the modes that the snow mode. That's what that really just dulls the throttle out, so it's not ripping the tires right away.
Yeah.
I'm actually super curious how he makes out with these Cross Climate 2s because, in fact, contact us and let us know. Because
there you go, Matt. There's the appeal.
we had some cars we couldn't find replacement tires for and they had some sort of summerish tire on them. These were EVs, and we ended up putting some Cross Climate 2s on it, and then we got rid of it before winter, so I never got to see what it actually would have done.
Right.
But super curious how that worked out for him.
Yeah. So in a couple months, Matt, go back
send me a
and
note,
let
for
Ryan
real.
know how you made out.
Just curious.
So great question too. Again, just a whole different type of power application and change. So as always, thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Keep the questions coming. If you submit a question and we use it on the show, like we did with Matt and Chris today, you can get a lovely Consumer Reports Auto Test t-shirt. Gordon is sporting the swag today. You can get one of those if you're dying for one. So thank you, and we'll see you next time.